All right, let's start. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today in this interactive session on specialization in green laws. So when we talk about the field of law in itself, the field of law in itself is a specialization within which we obviously can choose to further build our skill set on a particular field. One can specialize in IPR, for example, criminal law, civil law, insolvency law, so on and so forth. In fact, there are entire firms who specialize in only one type of law. So that means to do one thing and to do that thing extremely well, that is known as a specialization. And your ability to do that thing really well sets you apart from others. So whenever we think about legal specializations, we seldom think about environmental law as being one. And I mean, it might differ amongst different law schools, but in majority, many law schools that I have had experience with, there are several semesters in where you study IPR, corporate law, or criminal law. And environmental law is usually limited to one semester or two. And in many times, it is just regarded as a formality and not let alone something that you specialize in. And when it comes to choosing our career paths, we also think about law firms. It seems as if our success as a law professional is determined by our pay package. Many of us invest our time pursuing other mainstream specializations such as IPR, corporate law, which obviously act as stepping stones to help us reach our conditioned definition of legal success. Though those streams are important on their own, environmental law as a specialization should not be sidelined. We can take many examples of for like tigers, the tiger census. Last year there was an increase in wild tigers, which was an event of national pride, and it was because with the help of environmental laws. When it comes to mining and infrastructure development like dams, there are various human rights violations associated with it. Environmental laws can help and can be used to protect human rights as well. When it comes to urban planning, coastal regulation zones, and certain activities are allowed, which, though economically are beneficial in the short term, they are detrimental to the well-being of the community in the long term. Mangrove destructions, forest clearances, wildlife laws, human rights violations can all be prevented with the help of environmental laws. So essentially, one of the great things which I feel about environmental laws is that unlike any other specialization, environmental law includes within itself various disciplines such as business, sociology, politics, economics, IPR, criminal law, civil law, international law, human rights law. And therefore, like prior experience in any field, is an added advantage and not a deterrent. And so today we have with us three professionals. Apart from being lawyers, they come with very diverse backgrounds and experiences. These three professionals have chosen to specialize in environmental law in the middle of different stages of their career. And I hope they can inspire you to think about how you can use your legal acumen and your skill set in environmental conservation. I would like to introduce Ms. Vidhi Tukral, who is an advocate, and she has worked with the Ministry of Environment. Mr. Neeraj Nachiketa is an advocate in the Supreme Court and Delhi High Court, and he has over a decade worth of experience. Mr. Abhishek is a former banker and is currently a civil servant with the Government of India. So how this webinar will go, this is an interactive webinar. So first of all, we will take 5 minutes each, and the speakers will introduce themselves. And after which, you can type your questions on the screen, and we will answer as many as we can. Okay, so we begin with, I think, Ms. Vidhi Tukral, would you like to begin and introduce yourself and just tell us why you chose environmental law as a specialization?
Thank you, Samranch. So as Samranch mentioned that I did law, and I did my bachelor's to begin with in commerce from Delhi University, and alongside I did company secretary course, and I started working in the company secretarial team of an MNC. So while working there, I felt the need to study further, and I enrolled myself for 3 years LLB program in General Law School. And since I had CS degree with me, I was initially focusing only on corporate law internships. And it was only in the last year of my law school when I interned with the Center for Environmental Law in WWF. I realized that I could really relate to the issues of environment, forest, and wildlife. Now, all of these issues ignited my interest, and I gave it a serious thought to take it up professionally. And I took a deliberate decision to take steps in my career to engage more in environmental law because by now I realized that environmental law is my true calling. Fortunately, after my graduation, I got the chance to work in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. I was working with the impact assessment team there, and I got the opportunity to work on few mining cases. And I also got the chance to see how a project is assessed at the ministry level. So working in the ministry helped me to look at the environment issues from a different perspective. And it made me learn how the government body functions and how do they take decisions and what all do they consider. This definitely reinforced my interest in environmental law. And like all of this was when happening in my life, I was also planning to do an LLM degree from abroad to have a deeper insight into the issues revolving around environmental law. So when I got to know that Jindal Law School is collaborating with WWF India to launch an LLM program in environmental law, energy, and climate change, I seriously kept my plans on hold to pursue an LLM from abroad because I had an association with both the institutes as I did my law from Jindal, and I know how much they focus on substance and their priority is always in providing high quality education. They don't compromise with the quality at all, and therefore they have an excellent faculty and course structure. Secondly, I interned with WWF, so I was also aware of their functioning to an extent as well. They have expertise in this field. So having an LLM course, which is offered by these two institutes, where they bring in their own expertise, makes this LLM program even more attractive. Also, the combination of environmental law and energy and climate change, all three areas which are interconnected in a way, made me sign up for it. Also, the subjects which are offered are very interesting, such as environment law in national and international context, energy law, adaptation to climate change, and we also have a mandatory field study to understand the issues from a closer lens. For dissertation writing, which is a part of the LLM course, we have professors and supervisors guiding us. So all the professors are approachable and literally an email or a call away in case there is any doubt or any clarification is needed. We also have special lectures from different experts in their fields, which helps us to know more about the practical aspects and keeps us engaged in the subjects. Overall, I feel the course is dynamic and it has all the elements which are needed for a top-class master's program. So that's my take on the course.
Yeah. Thank you, Billy. Thank you for sharing your experience. For those of who are joining us right now, we're gonna begin with Neeraj's introduction. Before that, if you have any questions, please write them down. We will take them up as soon as this introduction session ends. So Neeraj is one of our, what's his name? Neeraj is one of our oldest students. So Neeraj, could you please tell us why right now you chose to shift your whole career path and take environmental law?
Thank you, Samrans. First of all, I extend welcome to all of you to join this particular webinar. My background, I did my master's in biotechnology from IIT Bombay. I worked in corporates. I had a stint with corporate in Mumbai, where I worked with the biomedical field. Now, coronavirus, COVID-19, now has turned the entire table. So, and the law. So I have I think this is my 15 years of in field of practice as an advocate, at the same time teaching also. I teach the people who are preparing for civil service examination, and many of my students are already in the service there. At the same time, being an advocate, practicing in the court of law, and at the same time picking up the matters. Law, if you take, and particularly this seminar, which has been named as Greening Laws, Environmental Laws, I will tell you that today everything is interconnected. COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to look back. retrospect, see the nature in the way it has functioned and what we have done so far. So if we take any aspect of our own human existence, environment comes into that. I keep on teaching the students saying that ecosystem, environment is our surrounding. Ecosystem is a web of life. It is all interconnected, and all components work in synergy to keep everything in a stable balance. If anything goes wrong, the entire balance can be disrupted. And that's a place where one need to go into the environmental aspect. Greening laws, environmental laws, I consider that today India stands at crossroad because we have a foundation in environmental laws. We have Environmental Protection Act 1996. We have Pollution Acts, Water Pollution Act, Air Pollution Act. We have protection for wildlife, biodiversity. We have a very strong judiciary to look into environmental matters. Like Supreme Court of India has given judgment to many landmark cases linked with environmental protection, wildlife, biodiversity. At the same time, you all know that National Green Tribunal, NGT, as a body has taken a lot of cases, and newspaper, when you read newspaper, when you go to journal, you come across a lot. So this course, LLM in environmental law, energy and climate change, is one of its kind. Truly speaking, at this career, when I am in such a age, it was very difficult for me to, think of going back to, college days and start studying. It is a very difficult challenge that you have to run your family, be in your profession, at the same time go for something for value education part of it. I selected this course with only one very clear-cut goal, that environment is going to be center stage in coming future, and every aspect of governance, whether it's a public policy or the corporates or civil society or individual as a citizen, environment will always be there. And now things are becoming more challenging. Let's say climate change issues worldwide. Then in terms of wildlife trafficking or illegal trade, all these are now always in the newspapers. So environmental law becomes a kind of added benefit when you look from the lens of legal perspective, how the law interplay, how the law work in terms of taking every aspect of the governance there. About this course, I will just tell you that if you take different courses I have done very lot of research on this subject. I found that environmental law LLM is there, but what is a very important component of what I found very important, energy and climate change. So that's why the course is called Environmental Law, Energy and Climate Change. You all know that energy transition is another very challenging aspect of human life. How we go into renewable energy, how we take the society governance, public policy into better, clear forms of energy. So this course is a very holistic course. It doesn't look only into environmental perspective, national and international level. It goes into energy, at the same time climate change. So I found it very important aspect of value addition. Another thing which I found was that the pool of the faculty, what Jindal and WWF offers there. Yeah, just I'll come to that. So the kind of faculty we get, it gives you a very important exposure, and particular person like me as a professional who work in the field. For me, it is a learning experience. Even at this age, I find it very interesting and very, always learning new things into that. So this is my, personal experience. I hope the people may join this course. Thank you, Samrans. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Neeraj. You have definitely come with a lot of experience, and we're very privileged to have you with us.
Yeah,
Neeraj, you're absolutely right when you say that environmental law will be very essential in the future, given all the anthropogenic activities that we're causing, and widespread destruction we're causing. And I might add, we are in this country of 1.3 billion people and such vast biodiversity. We are we are short. We are very short of environmental lawyers. It's just really
Yes.
unfortunate. I'm glad. Next we have Mr. Abhishek, who is a lot of things: a banker, a CA, and now works with the government of India as a civil servant and a lawyer. And now he's doing his LLM in environmental law with us. Can you please share your experience and what motivated you to come into this field?
Thank you, Samranji. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek. As far as my intro is concerned, um, pardon my self-centric narrative henceforth. Before taking up this beautifully designed LLM course, I had completed LLB from Government Law College, Mumbai. And I already had masters in management and economics. And economic analysis of law, that aspect brought me to the field of law. So for pursuing law, I left my well-settled job in banking and joined my present job under Ministry of Finance as a gazetted officer. Um, in my humble opinion, there is a subjective meaning or journey of life unique to everyone, in the end of which one gets to carve a niche for himself. We may not believe in the message of don't settle, but don't settle to be a layman is a kind of noble pursuit. In fact, government through literal entry to public administration is recognizing this fact now. In fact, this is part of our fundamental duty to strive towards excellence. I like many aspects of this course. The approach it takes, the core strength of this course, that this course was research oriented. This is one of the features which attracted me towards it. That LLM ELECC, this course, it is very research oriented. It has worked as a bridge between LLB and PhD, because LLM is not another LLB with a different syllabus. It actually prepares you to do the research in the field you want. It's worth mentioning that the new education policy will end MPhil. So in fact, this will bridge that gap. And because of this research orientation of this program, it motivated me to appear in NTA UGC NET examination, which I passed with 99.46%, and that motivation came from this course only. Another approach which I liked about this course, that is the cross-cutting or the interdisciplinary approach of this program, which is very much required for the subject like environment, which is itself is a great disruptor for traditional mindsets. Like SDGs are in fact revised environment-centric macroeconomics. Another approach which I liked about this course was that it is andragogical. It is not based on rote memorization or to mug up facts and then write them in the examination. It is not based on that. In fact, this program requires you to unlearn many methods of studying which you had developed throughout your academic career, and take up new ones, innovative ones, research-oriented ones. The best part of this course was it is very student-centric. That means it covers everything to let student discover. I mean, I should not forget the field trip, which is one of the USPs of this course. A picture speaks a million words, a video maybe trillion words, but the actual field experience opens up infinite new vista to perceive, to diagnose, to formulate, to solve. Here you understand not only the problem, but a way of analysis which is suitable for you. That is, you discover yourself. So this is one of the best part of this course. Best parts this course offers. And why environment kind of stream, or why environmental law or climate change? Because we are the environment. The environment is not separate from us. Everyone is a potential polluter as well as a potential savior of it. In fact, we need to think beyond the stereotypes we have been raised with, like the motor cars or the industries only they are polluters. It's not actual fact. Even I mean, while doing this course, I got to know that 2.5% of global warming is caused by rice farming. So the innocent agriculturist, even he can be contributor to climate change. And climate change affects our lives in every way possible, which is because of the anthropogenic reasons. which we started. We emitted the greenhouse gases that led to global warming, and that came to this climate change. So climate change worsens storms. We are facing the storms these days in Odisha or Kolkata. We are seeing it. Even the anthropogenic reasons, the pressures, the population pressures, they have increased the zoonotic disease risks like corona, which we are seeing. So we Indians are less prepared for climate change because we are a developing nation, and still we are choosing the carbon-intensive pathways due to economic reasons like tragedy of commons, which can be modeled brilliantly in game theory with prisoner's dilemma, where we are not changing because others are not changing, or they have not changed when they could or they were developing, or to reason like status quo bias in the terms of behavioral economics. So we need to change, but in which way possible? That is to be formulated and that is to be implemented. So to implement such kind of greener economics or such kind of greener policy tools, we need better law and we need better legal experts. So this course is the best fit thing which I could find in this field. So that's why I chose it, and I still am proud of my choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you for encapsulating all those things very clearly. You're right. I mean, things like rice farming, which no one knew could lead to environmental degradation and could promote climate change. That's one of the wonderful beauties of this course. Like you get to learn all these things that you never knew before. I, in fact, as a professional, I'm learning constantly every day new aspects which I never knew could affect climate change in general. And we do these activities in our daily life without even knowing. So yes, this course does prepare you in a lot of ways to just address contemporary challenges. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for sharing the experiences. We are going to go with the questions. To begin with, someone has asked to explain various avenues for practicing as an environmental lawyer. So of course, all three of you, I'll just begin and I'll leave it open to all three of you. Any of you want to chip in? Obviously, there is policy making. You can work with NGOs or the government agencies. I think Vidhi has been doing that, so she can elaborate more on that. There is obviously litigation, which Neeraj and Neeraj should have more experience in that. We can litigate in courts. We can litigate in favor of human rights. We can enforce rights and tribal rights, and of course there is legislation. I mean, as Divya and Abhishek just said, economics is a big part of it, sociology is a big part of it. You can get into politics, leadership. It just empowers you. The whole aspect of environmental law, when you learn how these legal systems work and how power is delegated throughout the structures, it empowers you to make better decisions when you are in a position of leadership. So it's just an overall development. And to just emphasize in greater detail, I'll just ask, I think Vidhi, you can start us off to tell us about how policymaking and your experience at the MOEFCC and how MOEFCC likes individuals who are more well aware of legal environmental aspects. And then we can move on to Neeraj, who can explain the litigation aspect. And Abhishek can explain the other government and politics and economical aspect about it. All right, Vidhi, can you please start?
Yeah, sure. So yes, you rightly mentioned that, like in environmental law, like once you are in this field, you have zillion of options to begin with. So if you're working with the government body or with the policy or think tanks, so like if I just talk about my experience with MOEF, you also get to learn, also work on the cases. So there's one aspect of litigation which is involved in it. So that is also, that also keeps you going because you go to the courts, you brief the councils, and you work on the matter. Also, what happens is, since you are working with the scientists there, because they, a lot of the team composition there is of scientists, so you actually see how a particular project is appraised. So you also get to see how a project is appraised, which is where your analytical skills and your mind gets trained, as in how is a project is viewed by the government authorities. So definitely helps in, so of course, MOEF per se is not into policy making in terms of, at least the division I was working with, impact assessment. But definitely it gave me a flavor of both, where it had the component of litigation on one hand, and also how to, research on the backhand side, where, what's happening to a particular project. So that is what I experienced in MOEF.
Thank you, Vidhi. Neeraj, can you tell us more of the litigation side of environmental law and how it helps you as a lawyer?
Yeah, thank you, Samrans. I would like to just bring about that when we come to environmental litigation, I consider three components. I can broadly divide into three areas. One is that where government is involved in terms of having the cases in the Supreme Court and Delhi High Court, where the government has to appear and defend any kind of a project or any kind of policy matter. Second component comes the public and private sector, where government organizations like public sector undertaking, let's say NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation, or let's say, for example, I'll take example of a private entity. Let's say any of the private company want to set up a new factory, a new plant. It has to meet a number of compliances, number of environmental compliances have to be met in terms of getting to that. Or during the working, there can be pollution aspect, there can be any harm to local people or community, or let's say ecosystem like a forest or any kind of where the wildlife is there. So that second component, when litigation comes, that comes from the entities like government PSUs or private companies which come to the court of law. And the third component is the part of a society in general and individual. Let's say you yourself get affected by pollution. You are exposed to any harmful chemical, right? You as an individual and the member of society, they are being impacted from any harm to the environment, right? So there the right of an individual, let's say as a person, as part of your basic right, and you all know that Article 21, which is right to life, has been also the right to have a healthy environment. Many of PIL, which have been heard in Supreme Court, have been ordered in the by the benches of Supreme Court. So there it comes. So litigation has become a very important component. I'll tell you that during the lockdown, now a lot of things are stuck up, and I know that, and you all will agree that lockdown is not going to be forever. Once normalcy have to come back, we have to return back to normal situation. Now things will move on. Like now, economy. If we talk about Indian economy, is on the again verge of taking a lead, and our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, emphasized that we have to become self-reliant. So now what will happen? The economic activities which will increase, the things which are going to change in coming 5-6 months or 1 year down the line, again a lot of environmental issues will come up. Again, the number of cases will appear in the court of law. So if you take lawyers, if you take lawyers and advocate, it is not that lawyers who are only specializing in environmental law itself. Even the lawyers who are working corporate law, even the lawyers who are working onto kind of human rights law, even the lawyers working another different specialization, let's say IPR, also intellectual property rights, need to be aware of environmental issues and aspect of that. I'll tell you my own personal experience in one of the cases which I represented, and there I have to, when I was doing the filing of the suit, the matter was with respect to corporate, and there I have to, like, in order to make this, I have to get the evidences, I have to get the data, document about the compliances part. See, if let's say a lawyer is not knowing about those kind of laws, the rules, the points, what data need to be done, it becomes very difficult to go forward in terms of litigation. So I believe that in coming years, more and more lawyers will be taking up the environmental aspect, and our country requires more and more such kind of litigation and legal aspect of that. So that is what my take on litigation part. And this course is really designed in such a way that you get exposed to all those environmental aspect of that. That is
Thank you.
what
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neeraj. We are running a little late, so Abhishek, could you just tell us about how it helps you in the government sector? You're not working directly in the legal sector, but how the information and environmental law education helps you in the government sector. Can you just take 2 or 3 minutes to tell us a bit about that?
There are many aspects of government which deal with such kind of things. Like regulation is the thing which we face in our first side. But the things, the main experiments which are being done in this area and which are more conducive for Indian economy, which is facing such kind of resource constraints, for them, there is a new stream of nudging for making choice architecture, which is environment friendly and which takes care of which covers everyone out of all those potential polluters or potential saviors of environment. All those matters through nudging or choice architecture through that government can do wonders in this area. Like in one experiment, it has been seen that if uh, the government is not going for incentivization or disincentivization in sector without spending some money. If they are generally going for giving certain kind of suggestions to the citizens, like in electricity consumption, if they are printing that you are consuming more than your colony average or your area average of electricity consumption household, then that nudge can help people to consume less electricity. So by creating such kind of choice architectures and with them even creating some meta decision points, so that with consumption of each and every unit or big chunks of unit, but some standard of that big chunk of unit, after consumption of that, every consumer thinks of the consumption through that nudging government without spending a money or thing can change the behavioral economics in this regard and can do wonders. So there's sky's the limit to apply these things, these solutions which we learn through this course, and we get motivated to learn about them. It's unlimited.
Yeah,
I mean, it's limitless what we can do
precisely.
in government sector.
Precisely. That's precisely what I mean. It just gives you these innovative ways to solve a problem with even like not costing that much money and saving the government and the taxpayers money. So that in itself is a wonderful thing. Thank you, everyone. We're getting a lot of questions which are stating that people if they have a master's degree in environmental engineering or sociology, can they pursue this course? Unfortunately, no. The Masters of Law program is only for those individuals who hold LLB degree or who are practicing lawyers. So we apologize. We will have a course hopefully for everyone very soon, but for this one, the Masters of Law program is a specialized legal course for just law professionals. Next, we have a question about modules. What kind of modules we study in this course? There are a plethora of modules. It involves science. It involves sociology, economics. It involves politics, policy making, drafting, national environmental laws, international environmental laws. So it's just a whole plethora of things that you can specialize in, and even cartoon making on comic strips and environmental comics, so to speak. For those details, I know that it's too much to discuss right now on this webinar, so we can stick to other topics. But if you want more details, please email or get in touch with the organizers, and we'll be happy to give you all the details regarding the course, the syllabus pattern, grading pattern, and everything. So whoever that is, please contact the organizers. Next, we have a question from I'm sorry, I'm trying to show questions. Okay, so we have a question from Vashant. He asks, recent Vizag LG polymers gas leakage. Do you think as an environmental specialist, we can file cases on the company, and do we have any special courts who can find them? In fact, okay, Vashant, we'll take these questions later on. Right now, let's stick to the course questions. Okay. Okay, is this course a full-time course or a part-time course, of how much duration? So, Janvi, we would like to say this is a part-time course. I mean, it is a full-time course, but it's scheduled in a way that it only functions on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So you don't have to quit your job, and you can work as a professional and come here as well. Next we have, okay, everyone who says environmental studies, this course is only for lawyers, and anyone who has any degree apart from an LLB degree, they cannot be a part of this course, unfortunately. So that is Masters of Biotechnology or Sociology or anything else. Okay, Vasant has a question. Compliance regulations varies from country to country. Environmental damages are fines heavily in other countries. Do you think if the US or Europe company establishes a company in India, the laws should... Okay, so it's essentially, if a company establishes a company in India, should the laws of India apply, or should the laws of the daughter company apply, so to speak? Question: the laws of this country will apply to that situation. Okay, Mansi would like to know the group's views on general climate attitudes on regulatory bodies towards environmental laws and the spirit thereof. So if everyone can give their views on the current environmental situation in India and what you feel and how they can be doing better. So yes, the general climate, the general attitude of the authorities in India can, if everyone can chip in their views. We'll start with Vidhi, if you want to just give in your views.
Yeah, I feel, so NGT, was set up in 2010, and that is, I feel like was one of the, flagship years where environment law, we can see that it has evolved, since then, and there's much awareness. And also, there was a time when NGT was almost every day in the news, and we would read of environment matters. And also, so all of us as law students have read about MC Mehta cases, so we know how environment has evolved from then. And even in the last 10 years, we see since the tribunal was established, which is from 2010 onwards, we see a lot has happened. And right now, I feel that, even if a company has defaulted, we really can't see them as defaulters. And not that it doesn't mean that they want to default all their lives. So the companies do have, they have the responsibility, or they do want to own up the responsibility to comply with environment laws. So that is one step, where, so there's a lot of awareness, and there's a lot of also so companies want to comply with it. There are also a lot of environmentalists and activists in this field where, so if a tree, if tree felling is happening in any part of the country, there are people from other parts of the country also supporting the movement. So there's a lot of awareness, citizens are coming together, civil society organizations are working in this field. Then we have Ministry of Environment, where so there's a whole dedicated team of lawyers there. And so in all the other government bodies, we also see that there are environment lawyers being getting appointed. So there is a need, a demand where environment lawyers are needed. Also, there's a demand more in compliance, because so the orders passed by the courts are such where they usually come up with some sort of follow-ups. The courts are keeping a constant check on what's happening in a particular matter. It's not that the court is not doing that. So to do all these follow-ups, I feel here the court environment lawyers pitch in, and they ensure that the companies or the petitioners they're working for, they're able to comply with the court's directions. So I see in the last 10 years that I've closely seen, from at least from when NGT was formed till today, there's a lot of awareness. Environment matters. Everyone wants to know where this water is getting discharged, where air is dirty, air is polluted, and what is happening, and what all can we do. So a lot of awareness, and it's good to see that people are coming together. And so environment law is evolving for sure, and it will evolve a little more, I think, in coming many years. So it's a very dynamic field. Yeah, that's.
Thank you, Vidhi. Vasant has also asked a follow-up question on that. I think Divya would be very capable of answering that. So the recent Vizag LG Polymers gas leakage. So his question is, do you think as an environmental specialist, can we file a case on the company? And do we have any special courts where we can file the case? So he feels the impact of this case is going to stay there for many years. So who would be responsible for the impact assessment? Who would be responsible for the impact assessment? And how do we recover the environmental damage cost assessed with whatever happened over there? So Abhishek, could you please help us answer that?
Yeah.
I'll repeat. So his question is where. Yeah.
It's a very considerate question regarding the news we are hearing these days. And as far as you have asked that whether after being such kind of expert, can we file cases against the companies? So actually, it doesn't take to have LLM to file such cases. In fact, it doesn't take to have even LLB to file such cases. You can file by yourself as a PIL if you can read the required rules, or through a lawyer you can file these cases. So it doesn't need you to be an expert. But to understand the nitty-gritties and to control what you want to say and how your narrative is more efficient, effective, and different from the traditional methods which have been adopted in past. You need to be an expert, and that's where your expertise and such kind of courses, which this LLM offers, they come into picture. And as far as assessment you asked, it's there is even a factor like public participation in that. There are many things like all the stakeholders of the society, public, the government officials, um, the company employees, all are involved in that. So I mean, it is to be yet to be seen on whose part the fault has been. So without knowing that, saying something against the company, that would be odi ultram partem. But yeah, I mean, it's very good to be thinking of these things and being active in such regard. That's what is, you know, expected from us. There is even one line once said by Wilhelm von Humboldt that the major centers of human pursuit are to inquire and to create. So if you cannot inquire after getting this much of education, what we have got, then there is no purpose of our education as well as our pursuits.
Thank you, Abhishek. Yes, Neeraj, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I just want to add that regarding LG polymer, already NGT has taken suo motu cognizance of the leakage of the toxic gas from there. Already the matter has been now filed. So it is not the part of it. Say, when you talk of jurisdiction, whether it is can be filed or not. See what Divya has added as a person or even any organization, even government organization will go ahead with any kind of compliances part. And it's not a matter of one company. Whenever you have a gas leakage or any kind of a chemical spillover or accident, there is always a inherent principle called precautionary principle. So it is at any point of time the matter can go, and it is not that only the accident takes place that litigation can be there. Even sometimes can be in the when there is a chance, when there is a risk that it might happen, then also one can file a case. Let's say a chemical plant or fertilizer plant, and there is a aspect that it may lead to some catastrophic accident in future. One can always go to court of law, so that before the damage take place, some action can be taken by the government or the company who may lead to such kind of problems. Right. Thank you.
There's also this part of the question is about recovering the environmental damage caused. So how through environmental law or as an environmental lawyer can you help the victims recover the environmental cause? Because right now we have not quantified environmental destruction at all. We have not quantified forest destruction. We have not quantified river pollution. We have not quantified air pollution, and a lot of lives are lost due to this, but yet we have not quantified what is the cost associated and what is the cost of those lives lost within this environmental destruction. So when it comes to recovering environmental cost, how can you use environmental laws, the NGT and the Supreme Court? How can you use that? Maybe we can talk about the fundamental rights that the individual has. Maybe you can just shed a few words about that. And Neeraj or Vidhi, anyone?
Yeah, so so in the NGT Act we do have provisions on environmental compensation, and so it's I mean, in the past also a lot of incidents have so happened where where some disasters have taken place and it has left an adverse impact on the environment. So this has always been a contentious issue as to how to quantify it and how much is and how to quantify it, and we do have the compensation environmental so how to assess damage. We do have cases, and in fact it was in length discussed in one of the cases called Bello Citizens Welfare case. So this has been there, and there are a lot of laws in terms of course, if we particularly talk about NGT and the NGT Act itself, it does talk about the how to assess the the damage done to the environment. So yes, I mean, there are, and also through a lot of courts precedents, we do have, like judgments which talks about the how to, what the damage done on the environment, how can that be looked into. So yes, that's something which exists. Yes.
I'll just
Yes,
add on
really
that.
essential.
Sorry. I just wanted to add something
Just
to
before you begin, we're just running short of time. So just can you encapsulate your question in a minute or so, please?
Yeah, just what I want to make understand that when it comes to quantification, you see, one is that we already have data about the forest or let's say river or wetlands or all these are there. When it comes to damage, assessment of damage, I will tell you that there are many organizations which already work like WWF, worldwide, the WWF India. There are many other civil society organizations. They are on the field. They collect the data. They know about the things. They work on different projects. So, right, a lawyer, let's say, a lawyer, a water lawyer, can always, like in terms of getting more information, can always look to some kind of agencies to get the data about the environmental loss or damage. And there are certain bodies to help out at the national level. So that's another thing where a lawyer need to know from where you get the data, where you have the information. Right.
Well, yeah, thank you, Neeraj. Just to add and conclude this whole answer, environmental cost is very arbitrary. So an environmental act can be very detrimental and could have large consequences in the entire country, but the cost associated with that in court as fines might be very minuscule. For example, deforestation could cause floods in the northern states and could cause droughts way down in West Bengal and in that area. That is not accounted. That sort of destruction is not accounted. The many sort of natural destructions are not accounted. So the costs associated are very arbitrary. And that's why we need more specialized environmental lawyers and policymakers and leaders who can fix this whole corrupt system. That is a good segue to my next question. Next question is, what benefits do you see after completing the LLM in environmental law, energy, and climate change? So I think this question is out for everyone, and everyone can take 3 minutes to just dictate what benefits do each one of you see after completing, as in personal growth or how you can impact society in general. So Abhishek, and then we'll go to Vidhi, and then Neeraj at the end. Okay. Abhishek, can you please start us off?
Yes, definitely. As I already said that this course is research oriented, so you will be adding many dimensions to your research, which will enable you to even become a good lawyer. Though LLM is not a prerequisite to be a lawyer or litigation expert, but this course will definitely add a lot for your legal research to be a refined one. Second thing, environment is very cross-cutting area. Like as we were discussing about environmental jurisprudence, as Sir said about the precautionary principle, that too has some kind of pillars to depend on, which are cost-effective measures, and which again are economics related or some other policy tools related. So all these interdisciplinary approaches, this course can offer to you easily. Another thing is that it's not another LLB for you. It's not based on rote memorization. It makes you do the thing. It makes you act at your own. Another thing is that the uh, the field experience, the field trip it has, such kind of simulations can give you the best idea to implement your mental faculties to address the challenges around you. So I think that this course will definitely give you a way to to inquire and to create. So I mean, it's a wonderful and brilliantly designed course, and it is the best in this stream you can find. So that's all I have
Okay.
to say.
Thank you, Abhishek. Vidhi, can you tell us how this course will benefit you?
Yes, so so I'll actually share as to how so far in my last 1 year, what all did I gain from the course is through, so we have several subjects, and one of them involved us in a policy making project where it's a Pacific island where we all as students were involved in the research making of it, which is which was one of the like new experience for all of us, but it really helped to sharpen our research skills and to also how to as to also train us to prepare the policy notes. So this was, of course, done under the guidance of a professor who was dealing in it. And so also we visited Sultanpur Wildlife Sanctuary. So that was also a field visit where we went, and we and that was bird watching expert also with us, telling us how the birds migrate, and why do they migrate. So that was also, this brings us closer to understanding the issues of climate change, because migration of birds is directly related to climate change. Then we also had sessions on illegal wildlife trading, from people from WWF experts. So that also threw a lot of light on what's happening. So even like how during COVID times the poaching incidents went up in particular part of the nation. So and then we had experts talking about climate change adaptation, which is how is it taking place, what measures India has taken. And then we had sessions on energy law. So so overall, if you see, it just like all of this, of course, can happen if I said if you're dedicating 1 year to LLM, it's worth it, because it you get dedicated time to learn and like deepen your knowledge in this field, and you understand the interconnectedness of all these fields, like environment, how is it connected with energy law, and how is it connected with climate change. So all these three are not working in silos or in isolation. Everything has an impact on each other. And when you're learning all these subjects in one course with with professors and with other experts, it then starts making more sense to you. You start getting an understanding about it. So definitely, I feel it has definitely helped me to deepen my knowledge in the subject. And LLM is an academic degree, so it of course, without saying, it really helps you in working on your research skills also. And we do have professors who help us in like in academic writing also. So that's how I have that's what I've taken back from the course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. If you take my perspective, I am a practitioner, I am a professional. So I always, for me, as a kind of how you take into practice, how you practice the thing there. So definitely, this course is one which help you to put into your work, like whatever you learn and you translate into the action. That is one important. Just to share my experience, I was selected for Harvard summer school program, and before that for Oxford program also. So this program is designed in such a way that you have a international exchange program. That means, you will be given opportunity to not only go to field like Sultanpur Bird Sanctuary or Sundarban Delta and learn environmental aspect in India, but you have an opportunity to go abroad, right? And you know that Harvard is one of the best law university, and other field also is known for that. Oxford, you all are aware of such a high reputed universities of the world. So this program has a very important dimension. Another thing, the foreign faculties are teaching us. We have a mix of faculties coming from abroad. At the same time, we have experts coming from legal practice and expert in the wildlife, biodiversity, wetland, everything. This course gives you kind of a kind of eye opener, which I never had that kind of opportunity in my life, and that was really a golden moment for my life. So I believe that this kind of exposure gives you a kind of global perspective rather than only national perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Neeraj. We're going to be concluding very soon. So just to take a few small questions, one of the participants asked, is it challenging to sustain yourself monetarily with this specialization? No, actually, with any legal field, with any specialization, with any work, and with any degree, it's equal. So if you have environmental law or a general lawyer, it depends on your capabilities and how you use that information. Environmental law is essentially information that empowers you to work in various fields that you can. You can help people, you can help the environment, you can litigate on behalf of mining companies if you want. You don't have to protect everything. I mean, we don't encourage that, but it's that aspect is also open to you. And if you are concerned about monetary aspect of it, mining companies obviously are one of the richest. industry out there. So no, specialization is not a limit to what you can do monetarily, but it's how you use this in your work and in your life and in your career. So we're going to conclude very soon. We might try to incorporate some of the questions in the conclusion. So one of the participants has asked, India is a developing country. Does the government body favor development more than sustainable environment, right? So yes, we all have experienced that. We see the government not giving too much emphasis on environmental sustainability and just being dragged more towards development and to uplift people out of poverty. But we can say it's because the government is just targeted in economic development and poverty upliftment. And that is also why the government acts this way, is because the leaders, when they were students or when they were professionals before being in a leadership position, they never encountered environmental law as a specialization. And this is what we want to change here. We want to make environmental law mainstream. We don't want environmental law as a specialization to be associated with stigma such as monetary, it doesn't pay monetarily, it's not fulfilling enough. No, it is absolutely a wonderful, wonderful way to empower yourself and empower your community, and to make sure we don't have leaders like we do now globally, where people in Brazil, Bolsonaro is destroying the Amazon rainforest, and in India we're polluting our rivers. So this is a course which will create a better India, which will destigmatize the aura of environmental law as being something which is not as important as, say, corporate law or, say, arbitration. So those are my views to it, and my views why specialization is extremely, extremely important, and it's a very respectable field. So if every one of you can just take a minute and just tell us about some concluding remarks and why you feel specialization is important for you, and just conclude the session overall, and we can just end this then, right? Thank you. Let's begin with, again, Abhishek, Vidhi, and then Neeraj. So just take a minute or so just to wrap it up.
As we rightly discussed, that this program is equipped in the best way with the best of the faculty. One of the faculty who teaches us has contribution towards the Paris Agreement and in the draft of it, in the final draft of it, as well as there are faculties who are teaching us, who is a Canadian expert on marine environmental laws. So the best of the faculties are there, and the best of the publications they have made, and even they encourage us to write such kind of publications as well as to research here, and that's what has made Jindal the #1 global law school, globally, and the #1 school of India, and it is globally in top 150 law schools. So that's because of these things, and such kind of things has been taught to us. So I guess this can be the best place to start with for such kind of environmental expertise things. And all the best to all of you, whoever is
Thank you.
going to be
We have a few minutes left.
divine
So
course.
thank you, Divya. Just a few minutes left. Some concluding remarks, Neeraj, and then Vidhi.
Yeah, I'll just add there. Specialization will help you in three aspects. One is in job, if you want to go for the job. Second is in terms of litigation, you can go for a practice in the field of that. Third, you can pursue your higher academic research, like going for PhD for further advancement and getting a degree for that. Thank you. And I wish all the best those who joined for this program in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidhi. Just a few concluding words.
Yes. So I feel if you're sure about that you want to that you like this particular field, be it environmental law, energy, and climate change, I think it just it comes natural that you want to engage more with the subject. You want to deepen your knowledge. You want to know more about it, and LLM enables you to do that. It's like a one year of investment, which is totally worth it. And of course, all the other, I would say, the opportunities in terms of employment, they open up. So it's like, you need not worry about it. That's what I went with the course when I signed up for it. Is that, you just first focus on the knowledge that you have to gain, and then all the doors will open. So once you know that specialization actually helps you to train your mind in a particular way. It gives you an edge because everyone is sure that, okay, this is my interest area, and that is why I'm going for LLM. So it definitely gives you an edge over others because you have an LLM in a specialized course. So yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vidhi. And that brings it to an end. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who joined. Thank you, everyone who stayed with us throughout the whole seminar. I hope this was somewhat beneficial to you. And if you have any questions regarding environmental law, the specialization, and the LLM program, you may write to the organizers, which is Jindal Global Law School. You may visit us on our website at Jindal Law School or WWS website, get to know more about this course. You can write to us whenever you feel like. So yeah, I'd like to thank you all, and I hope you guys understand that environmental law is about empowerment. Environmental law is about working for wildlife, for all the beautiful animals out there, for the trees, for life, essentially. So thank you everyone, and with that we will end the seminar. We appreciate all of you joining us, and thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.